In today's episode, we're talking about a video game that Ian first wanted nothing to do with, and I had to convince him to get it, only for him to absolutely love it now. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the game. So what is Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the game about? It is about the movie, obviously, but it is an asymmetrical survival horror game developed by Sumo Nottingham and published by Gun Interactive. It is based on the 1974 film of the same name, of course, and the game features 4 victims attempting to escape the family of cannibals before they catch and kill them. So it's a little bit of DVD vibes, which we'll get into in the main conversation. But before we kick things off, we're going to play a new type of game. It's not really a game. It's more of like trivia, but we're kind of talking through it because I couldn't think of turning them into questions. I didn't know how to. So I've called it Movie Murder Hoopla because in Season 2 of Scream, in Movie 2, Scream 2, Randy says that when he's having a conversation in his film class. So I felt like it would be kind of fitting. So that's what we're calling it. Movie Murder Hoopla, Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie references in the game. And I have this list from thegamer.com. So let's just quickly go through some of them that are pretty interesting. I know the most obvious one is the opening scene, color, and font when they're kind of talking about the story. The other reference, this one might not be so obvious, but the date. This is August 17th to 18th. And it says the game launched on August 17th, which is one day before the murders occur in the original film.
That's crazy.
The next one is also very obvious, the grandpa. The grandpa is a major reference.
Yeah. We saw him in the
He's completely immobile and mostly nonverbal. He always sits in his chair, and he does that in the movie and in the game. Okay, the next thing is star sign abilities. So when the game first launched, what is now known as abilities was originally referred to as star sign abilities. Each victim had a star sign ability, a special skill that is unique to that character. And we know the different things, like Connie can pick locks, Leland can charge, things like that. These abilities have nothing to do with their zodiac signs, so this detail is purely just a reference.
Oh, okay.
Jumping through the window, of course, that's another film reference.
Oh, yeah.
The armadillo roadkill, that's in the opening scene, I think, of the game. Then we have barely escaping down the driveway, of course. That's when you're, like, escaping as one of the survivors.
Yeah.
The meat hook, of course. These are kind of, like, obvious, but they are cool to kind of point out. The chainsaw dance. Gotta love the chainsaw dance.
Yeah, he does that. He does it every game.
And then the leatherface skins and chainsaws. His outfits are pretty much on point, which we'll get into. But those are 10 references that the gamer kind of, like, noted.
Yeah.
And I think we can segue into, like, the discussion because I will just say before we get into it, like, the references are pretty great in the game.
Yeah.
All right, so why did we pick this piece of content? I kind of talked about it in the intro, but I saw a bunch of people playing this game. I heard about it for some time, and Ian also heard about it for some time, but we weren't fully interested. I think because a lot of the times game adaptations of movies can be really cheesy, can be really poorly done, but I had my eye on it, particularly because I really enjoyed the Friday the 13th video game, even though it is kind of crappy.
Yeah.
I really, really like it, and so I had high hopes for this game as well. And then I started seeing a lot of people on TikTok, like TikTok gamers, streaming it, and it looked pretty dang good. It didn't look like Friday the 13th, it looked much better, significantly better.
Yeah, the graphics were better.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, this looks really great, but Ian still wasn't convinced. I didn't have to, but when we went on vacation, we spent a huge amount of time in the hotel room because the game had just come out, watching other people play the game, and I think that's what got you most interested when you actually saw the gameplay, and you were like, okay, this looks pretty cool.
Yeah, but then we bought it before we went on vacation. So the story, the story is I was like, this game got like I was looking at reviews and it got like a 7, and I was like, why I got a 7 is because the levels are like the same thing over and over again, so it will get repetitive. but at the end, it's a gameplay that you want to do. You want to play the game, right? So I was like, I'm not paying the new prices for games now are $69. I was like,
yes.
I was like, yeah, I'm not paying for that game if it's gonna be repeated over and over again. And then I looked it up and it was like $49, and I was like, oh no, it was $39.99 I think or something. I was like, you know what?
It wasn't too expensive.
I was like, you know what? All right, I'll get it. And then there wasn't any single player also. You just play online. It's strictly online.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
so the timeline was more like I was trying to convince you to get it. You were finally like, okay, let's get it. And then you saw the gameplay, and then you got excited.
Yeah, we got it the day before we left because I think we were leaving early in the morning.
Gotcha.
So we got it the day before we left. We were driving. We were already set up to go to Mexico, and we are just like just bullshitting. And I was just like, all right, let's go get it. So we got it the day before we left.
Oh yeah.
I played it for like maybe an hour, and I was like, this shit is funny.
Yeah.
And then we had to get ready to go to sleep or whatever. But then the whole time in Mexico, we were watching how to play. And I was like, I gotta learn how to play this. And our friend Robin, cat sitter, he came to see the cats. He was we told him to play the game, and he was playing it for us.
Yeah. Now I remember. I completely forgot that we bought it right before we went on vacation, and then we came back to actually play it. And we were like, everybody's gonna be a pro at it by the time we get back. So we need to kind of like brush up on our skills by watching other people play it. And it was kind of clear at the very beginning. Nobody knew what the hell to do, but we'll get into it. Why do we like this game so much? The first thing that I'll note is that it has a very similar format to Dead by Daylight. And we all know here on the podcast, we're big fans of Dead by Daylight. We did an episode on that in the first season. But it has a very similar format in that you have a set of survivors, you have a set of killers, one versus the other, and then you kind of like use the map and figure out tools, fix things, what have you, to open the doors so that you can escape.
And he's in the game too. He's in Dead by Daylight.
Oh yeah, that's pretty funny. But it has that similar format that we are already super familiar with. We really like it, and so I just felt like I knew that we were gonna like this one. This one is a little bit more interactive, so I would argue that it's sometimes a little bit more fun because you're not just fixing generators and then opening the door. You're doing other things.
Yeah, there's more things to do, and you have to hide, and you have to play. You have to have a strategy.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And then the people are like actual. You feel like it's live people looking at you because it is live people, and they're like, you don't know if this person's gonna go back, if they're gonna camp, and it's like what is it, 4 against 3?
Is it?
Yeah, it's 4 against 3.
I thought it was even.
No.
Oh, okay.
It's 4 against 3, so you're not just dealing with one person like in Dead by Daylight, 5 against 1.
Yeah.
It's 4 against 3. Yeah.
It makes it more complicated, but then of course the inclusion of all these other things that you're doing make it complicated for the killers as well. So it kind of evens out.
Yeah, but the killers are a little bit stronger.
Yeah.
Because you can't really like knock them out for a long time.
Yeah, exactly. And the way that Dead by Daylight is, it's very like formula specific. So one does one thing, the other person does the other thing, it leads to the other action in the game. Whereas this one feels a little bit more fluid, loose, anything kind of goes in a way. And that makes it a little bit more interesting.
Scary?
I wouldn't say it's more scary. I actually think that Dead by Daylight is a tad bit more scary because you can't talk to each other.
Oh yeah, this one they allow you to talk to each other, yeah.
And sometimes it can be it can take you out of the story a little bit when you're talking to like real life people. In Dead by Daylight, it's like you're focusing on the story.
On the mission.
And then you can get jump scared because of that because you're so focused, but...
Oh yeah, this isn't that scary because they come at you, you hear them.
Yeah. It's more like the fear comes from the anticipation.
Or like unlocking a door, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, and like you know that they're creeping up on you, or not even creeping up on you because you get these sensors around the edge of the screen that say that they are catching up to you.
So you know they're coming, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that is actually probably the scariest part for me, like when I watch you play or if I'm playing. When I see the red around the screen...
Anxiety.
I'm like, oh my god, I don't know what to do. I get frozen. I don't know, I freak out.
Yeah.
What about you? Like, what is the freakiest, scariest part?
When you hear the chainsaw, you're downstairs in the basement when you first get off the hook.
Yeah.
And you're walking around, and all of a sudden you see the red, and then you hear the zzzz, and you're like, yeah, shit, where is he?
Yeah, he's the scariest one, of course.
Yeah, and then you can't even you can't hit him down, you can't stun him, you can't do anything, just for like a second. And then by the time you run, he's after your ass again.
Yeah, definitely. The grandfather isn't scary, but there's like...
Weird.
it's weird, scary in a way. It's like eerie that he's just kind of sitting there watching you the entire time, like running back and forth in front of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they did fix before when the grandfather used to level up or something like that on Scream, they show you him screaming every single time.
Yeah.
And now they fix it and they don't show you, just hear him screaming.
Thank goodness. I think there were a little bit too many cutscenes, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's how it would get repetitive also, but
yeah,
they changed it up and it got better. It has gotten better.
Yeah, definitely. Another thing that I really like about it is that it is based on a movie and it's based on true events. I think that makes it extra cool that it's actually well done, first of all, because these can be done really, really shittily. But I like that part of it because it feels like you're in the movie. And sometimes you want to have that feeling, like you're watching a movie and you're so invested in the movie, you're like, I kind of want to be in that situation, or I want to get like transported into that story. And you get to do that with these types of games, which is really cool and fun. Like, for example, if you're watching Scream, and because Scream is so close to reality for us as, like, say, teenagers in high school when we were, like, first watching it and stuff like that, it would be kind of cool to be at the Woodsboro High School and stuff like that.
If they made a game.
Yeah, and games like this allow you to do that, although this is not relatable in our sense. We're not out in the middle of the middle of nowhere with, like, a serial killer out and about, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, and they have all the parts there, all the meat and hanging and shit, yeah.
I really like the details that they put in from the movie, like all of the meat things, like hanging, all of the little...
The butcher shit.
The butcher's tools. Yeah. Everything is so intricate in each room. I know you don't get a chance to kind of stop and look at it, but it is quite intricate. It makes the mood definitely creepy. I feel like Texas Chainsaw Massacre in general is such an eerie place. An eerie story.
The music too, they play like some eerie ass music when you...
It's so disturbing. Like when you're out in the middle of nowhere and you just see like a house there and nothing's really around it. You're kind of like stranded. Nothing. And then you get into the house and it's just got weird trinkets everywhere. It's just like... It's
human bones.
It's disturbing. And it is based off of a true story, which makes it extra disturbing. Mr. Ed Gein is inspiration for that, right? Another thing that I think is pretty scary about this, well, I would say playing as the victim is particularly scary. I don't think it's as scary when you're playing as one of the killers, because you're kind of
you gotta
in
do
charge.
Something. Yeah.
You're more in the lead. But when you're playing as the victims, it's automatically more scary. Do you feel scared when you're playing?
Yeah.
Aside from, like, the chainsaw thing.
Yeah, when you're running around, you're just like, what do I do? Like, how do I... And then it's like, all right, when you're running around, you're like, what do I do? How do I get away from this guy? Because the people that are playing, they could be really fucking campers.
Yeah.
Like, one time I was playing it, this one guy is like, he ran by the fence, and he's just standing there. And you're like, when are you going to move? And
That's
as soon as he moves, you go there, and then all of a sudden he's right behind you again. So you're like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
So that's where you get scary. Like, you don't, like, you have to think how they're thinking.
That
like,
makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense why that would be scary. Because you're kind of, like, left stranded, too, if they're camping.
Yeah, and if you get fucking caught, then you're fucked.
Yeah.
So you don't know what to do. So it's like a survival.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I will also say that the gameplay is pretty solid to have fun rounds every single time. Because there's a lot more interactive stuff, right? Like, with Dead by Daylight, sometimes that can get a bit boring and you don't want to play for too long because it's the same exact thing over and over and over again. I think the variety in Dead by Daylight comes from the map, right?
Yeah, the people, if you do stupid shit. Like,
exactly. But in this one, there's so much more. Whereas the map isn't changing that much, there's just a lot more things to do. Say you can't bump into the cages where the chickens are. Like, there's little things that change up the gameplay every single time, which makes it a little bit more fun.
Yeah, and the recent update that they did, it did change it up. Like, you'd start somewhere and then something's not there, and you're like, wait a second, it changed.
That's kind of awesome that they did that update. Because people who are constantly playing it nonstop, they are now witnessing something different, which makes it scary again.
And they added more characters too. Like they do different little things to make you play it over and over again.
I love that about like fun, updates. Yeah. Updates on multiplayer games. So you can switch it up and make it scary. Or, change the scenery for people who are getting kind of bored with it. Dislikes. What do I dislike about it? I think sometimes I've seen the gameplay be a little wonky.
Oh no, well that's a glitching when you go online. Like sometimes it doesn't load correctly.
So it's actually not that wonky.
It hasn't been like that. It's like rare, and a rare occasion happens.
That's actually kind of impressive. I'm shifting that from a dislike to a like.
Yeah.
Because for an online game, it doesn't really glitch that much.
No, it doesn't.
Alright.
It'll just like cut off if somebody doesn't want to pick Leatherface. That's another thing right there. If somebody doesn't pick Leatherface, you can't play the game. That's a dislike.
Oh yes, that's what it is.
They want you to pick Leatherface, like because he's the main character. They want you to pick him, and people don't want to pick him because I understand why people don't want to pick him because he's like slow. Like when I played with him, people are running around me, and I'm trying to run after them, and they're going through like the walls and stuff. I'm just like, shit, I can't catch them.
Yeah, that's true. He's like so large.
Yeah.
Another thing that's kind of like, I don't know if it's a dislike, honestly. I don't know if it affects you that much when you're playing, but like the different characters, you can't have more of the same character in the game play.
Oh, like two of the same people?
Like two of Leland, say, for
with
example.
different clothes, yeah. That would be cool, but it would be fake, you know? It would be like a video game.
Yeah,
trying to make it more real, yeah.
It would be more like Dead by Daylight, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. It keeps it more into the story. That's probably why they do that.
Yeah.
To keep it more in the story.
They pick, I think there's like, what, 5 characters or 6 characters, and whoever you don't pick, the other person gets hung and like chopped chopped up with the chainsaw.
Yeah, you're right. I guess I kind of like that too.
Yeah, they really did fix the update because before you would always meet somebody and be like, "How are you?" or whatever, and say the same thing over and over again. And sometimes they don't even talk anymore.
Yeah.
And they change up what they say, and then what's her name? Sissy. She would just be singing all the time, nonstop. You just get annoyed.
Yeah.
Even when you pick her, she's singing. But they stopped it. They cut down a lot of stuff and made it more like
less annoying.
Adaptable, to play, and less annoying.
Yeah. Because the repetitive noises and the repetitive cutscenes are just so... It gets really annoying when you're playing it over and over and over again.
That would be the dislike, but they fixed it. So
nice. Okay, so long story short, the developers are listening to their consumers. That's awesome. I have a question for you. Do you think the killer to victim ratio is fair?
I think there should be 2 killers.
2
Not
to 3.
Because sometimes you're like, they're really camping hard at a door.
Yeah.
And then when you try to go to another door, it's like they come after you and you're just like, what the
And on top of that, they have the grandpa, which gives them extra abilities too.
Yeah, the grandpa tells you where you are sometimes, and then sometimes they have like this ability where they can put 2 locks on the door. So you're about to win or close to winning, and then they come after you because they put 2 locks, a double lock.
Yeah.
And then they have the chickens help them out too. The chickens
That's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like there could be a little bit more of an evening there because they get their own set of skills too. So, I don't know. Maybe it is evenly distributed and it's just a little challenging.
Sometimes when they camp on you, 3 of them will come at you and just fuck you up. So it's like...
yeah, that's the thing too. They can choose that tactic of just all of them going after one at a time.
Yeah,
which is really
just
annoying.
like, well, how do I get out of this?
Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing that I've noticed that is like frustrating, where all of the killers will kind of gang together and go after one individual survivor at a time. Because there's no chance one person is going to make it out
After
of 3 people kind of like bombarding them.
Slashing and shit.
Yeah, so if you do pick up that tactic, it ends up being almost impossible for the survivors. So that's why I was like, maybe one less killer?
It's either maybe 1 less or maybe they can have a weapon. They do have the bone that they fight with. Like, if they pick up a human bone, they can fight the other person, like, off.
Yeah.
But maybe if they had, like, smoke or something, or throw sand in their face or some shit. Sometimes you're playing with Leland, and then you hit them down, and then you're like, alright, let me run. And then you're running, and then they're already right behind you.
Yeah.
So what did the...
It's true.
What did the perk do?
It's true. I guess those are kind of like the little quirks that make it challenging, and you can't really like change the gameplay because of that.
Yeah.
So that's probably why they don't. But we'll see. Like, what's cool about this game is that updates happen, right? So you never know what's going to happen a couple months from now, and maybe it'll get better, maybe they'll add new things for the survivors to be able to use and stuff, so...
You know what would be interesting if they... Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, go.
You know what would be interesting if they had, like... You fight the survivor with like a weapon, like the bone. Keep the bone or whatever, and when you fight them, they get hurt. So then they gotta go get a health item, and they gotta use it. Except Leatherface, because he's a super guy.
Wait, so if you're playing as one of the killers, you don't really have to deal with the
No.
gathering health thing.
You get hurt or whatever, and they just curse it off, and they just continue and they come after you.
That's true.
Like,
that might be it.
Yeah, because they're actually people too. They're not superhuman. The only superhuman is Leatherface for some reason. Like he's like a big dude. So
perhaps that can be like a thing where maybe they don't lose their health as quickly as the killers, like just average kids, but they do have health effect. Like their health will get affected.
Yeah, like you get hit with the bone, and then they have to go look for something.
Something.
And if they get hit too much, then they get knocked out.
Or they have to like eat something. You know what I mean?
And if they get hit too much, oh, remember the blood? They take your blood and they drink it and give grandpas a drink.
That might
Maybe
be
they could drink the blood or some shit.
That's a cool idea. That makes it a little bit more interactive for the killers too.
Yeah, or they fall, or you could hit them until they fall over.
That's true.
And then they have to recover because in the game you have to recover one time. After you recover the second time because you're bleeding out, then you like fall over and die.
Yeah.
So how about you let the killer have the same thing? Oh yeah, I've been streaming games.
Oh yeah.
On PS5 now, so. If you follow me on Twitch, it's Ian Candy, IANKNDY.
Yeah, he's just been casually streaming every once in a while. Probably like every day, actually, now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you want to check him out, he's on at random moments. But if you follow him, you'll probably get pinged whenever he does go live. We are playing a spooky game. Don't say what it is. But we're playing a spooky game right now. If you're listening to this episode at the time that it comes out, we're playing something pretty spooky, and hopefully we can talk about it on the podcast when we finish it, but it has been a lot of fun. I have been having a lot of fun watching him play, even though he just started playing it. Question to the audience, and don't forget, y'all, go into our discussion posts on Instagram after you listen to one of these episodes. You don't have to, listen to this episode the day it comes out and go into the discussion post the day that it goes live. You can always go back and kind of scroll through. It's kind of clearly marked which posts on Instagram are the discussion posts, but we always post a question. We always have, conversations underneath them. And so the prompt that's going to go under this episode's discussion post is, what horror movie would you like to see adapted into a video game? I think it goes without saying, I would love, a Scream.
Halloween?
I would love a Scream kind of game.
If they do Scream,
where you walk through the town and you get to go
Sydney.
into the school, that kind of game where you get to be one of the characters and just kind of live through the story.
That could work, and then you get clues and stuff in your locker, yeah.
Instead of it being something very formula specific, like this one, just walk through the story and create a story of your own.
Yeah, that would be cool. And then you get to play with all the characters, maybe.
Right? And then maybe the developers could make the story a little bit different, so it could be a spin-off of the main story.
And then how about you play online as Ghostface against 5 people? Like Dead by Daylight?
Oh my god.
Nah.
That would be hilarious if that was an option. You let us know what you would want to see in that discussion post. But thank you so much for listening. If you liked today's episode and you want to hear more from us, do us a favor and leave us a 5-star rating on your favorite podcast platform. Once again, thank you for those 5 stars on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We appreciate you. Share it with a friend and have them put the 5-star rating as well. That just helps boost our podcast so other horror lovers can check us out.
Thank you, guys.
And hang out with us. But tune in next Wednesday because we're going to be talking about a creepypasta. Stay tuned. We'll give you more details in the next episode. But for now,
we'll see you in the kitchen with a knife.